So how can you possibly stand out on your personal statements, your college essay? Probably the most stressful part of the college application for students and for moms alike. That's the question of the day for Fact Us Friday. I'm Andy Lockwood from Lockwood College Prep. Let's get right into it. I see so many kids hung up on what to say, or they write the totally wrong thing that they think someone wants to read, but it's not going to help them. So let me tell you a little bit about the personal statement or the main essay on the Common Application. So first of all, it doesn't really matter which prompt you answer because you get a choice of 7. It's really 6. The 7th is write anything you want. Don't ever write that, by the way. It doesn't really matter which prompt you answer because they're also open-ended, designed to give you enough room to say whatever it is you have to say. So there's one question about a background or story that's so compelling or important that we need to know this. There's another question about overcoming an obstacle. There's another question about some moment in time or realization that you had that changed you. There's another question about, where do you lose track of time? Where do you go deep? Where do you nerd out? These are all really good questions, but they're also open-ended that they allow you room to talk about anything you want. So a few years ago, I wrote a book called College Essay Insider Secrets, which is still on Amazon. And the crux of the book was me interviewing a former admissions officer from the University of Chicago, which is ultra competitive, and they're known for asking wacky essay prompts. And over the years, I've had more than a couple dozen former admissions officers working for our firm, helping kids with their essays. So I can give you some really good advice here very quickly. So number one, don't worry about being original. You can't possibly be original. And the reason I say that is because if you understand the average admissions officer's career, they read about 1,000 applications a year, not essays, 1,000 applications an admissions cycle, and each application might have 2 or 3 essays, the personal statement plus a supplemental essays. On top of that, they might be, they're employed as an admissions officer for 3 years or 5 years. So the reason I'm trying to do a little bit of math with you here is to let you know that it's very unlikely that you could ever possibly come up with something original. Now, just because it's not original doesn't mean you can excuse yourself from making it interesting. So how do you make an essay interesting? The way you make it interesting is you tell a story that has a plot, a before and after, an inciting incident that happened in the middle that caused you to change, that type of stuff. But it's okay to go small. So that's another misconception that people have about the personal essay. They're worried it doesn't have to be original, but they're also worried that it's not about some hugely traumatic thing like on a Lifetime movie or something like that. It doesn't have to be. It can be about something small like a family tradition. Maybe you went to ball games for your home team. The Mets. There's a lot of Mets fans where I live. I'm a Red Sox fan, so that's really painful for me. 1986. Still trying to get over it, but they write about a tradition of going to Mets or Jets games with mom or dad, usually dad, or making dinner for the family Sunday nights and the types of discussions they have, that type of thing. It doesn't have to be, like I said, overly dramatic. The more detail you give, the more insight, the more showing, not telling you do, the better. So here's another quick example. I started my own business, and from that I learned the characteristics of perseverance and flexibility and persuasiveness versus telling a story about a friend of mine and I started a garbage can cleaning business. Everything went smoothly. We bought all the equipment. We started getting customers. One day I was looking at the bank statements and I noticed that we were missing about $10,000. Immediately I texted my partner, bro, what happened to all of our money? So the story goes on from there to describe how his best friend or his partner ended up being dishonest and stealing, and the lessons he learned about that. Similar anecdotes about offering customers, other services creatively. Another story about dealing with a customer complaint who is very unhappy, dealing with people slamming doors in their faces. These are all anecdotes that support the lessons learned in perseverance and flexibility and all that. So instead of saying I learned perseverance, flexibility, I showed those examples. So that's really, in a nutshell, what you want to do on the personal statement is you want to be personal. So if you're using ChatGPT or your mom is or someone else is heavily editing your essay, or you have a team of people behind you editing your essay, that's probably not going to work. You're pretty much doomed to failure if you allow that to happen, because it's going to lose the personal aspect of it. It's going to lose the quote unquote voice. The last thing I'll say about the personal statement, I think it gets a little overrated, but it is important to grab the reader's attention, with a quote unquote a hook, right? You probably have heard that term a lot. So I can give you a couple of examples of hooks that I thought were really good. One was from a student who wrote, this is years ago, by the way, I still remember it. There I was 3 years after my bar mitzvah, about to receive communion and ... right? Very interesting. How can you not want to read the rest of that? That happened to be a story about a Jewish kid who was enrolled in a parochial high school for some reason, and then it led to a great discussion about fitting in and being transformed from being bullied to not being bullied, and etc. There was another one that went something like, "I haven't wiped in weeks," my dad screamed in a crowded restaurant. The funny thing is, I didn't even bat my eyes at it because I'd heard it so many times. So, a little risky there, but it was an essay about her dad's enthusiasm because he bought this robotic Toto toilet, I think is what it's called. And that trait of enthusiasm was passed down to her, whether it was her athletics, her extracurriculars, her academics. And she gave examples in her own life. So it's important to grab your reader's attention, but you don't have to be that dramatic. The purpose of the first sentence is sort of like a headline in a tabloid, to get your attention. But it's also, the main purpose is to make you want to read the second sentence. And the purpose of the second sentence is to get to read the third sentence, get you to want to read the third sentence. So those are my comments on the personal statement. Make sure that they are personal and make sure that they are interesting, and the more detail, the better. And the more of a story that you can tell, the before, the inciting incident, and the after, for example, the better it's going to read. When you're done writing it, read it aloud and you listen to yourself saying it. You're going to pick up on things that will cause you to make changes in your essay, because the best essays have sort of taken the place of the interview. There are no more college interviews, almost for the most part, by admissions officers. There's other types of interviews. The personal essay has taken the place of the interview. So it better be personal and better reveal something personal about you. Okay, if you like these tips, subscribe wherever you're watching this, and you'll get more of them. We're releasing these every Friday for Factless Friday, Frequently Asked Questions Friday. If you have a question and you want it answered, I make sure that it pertains not just to you, but also to everyone else or many other people who might be watching this, and we'll try to answer it. Have a great week.